Hello, welcome everyone to PopCultX episode 182. Once again, it's myself, Gabriel, and Danny, your host of PopCultX, pop culture from a Gen X point of view. Let's go ahead and get into it. Danny, how are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Some crazy weather up here in Las Vegas this past few days. The thunderstorms, the wind, the dust storm warnings, and I see videos of like the power lines falling down. It's like,
Oh,
wow, that's why I lost power.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. But other than that, watching the wild weather, everything else has been pretty tame, I guess,
Yeah.
which is good, I guess, in a way. There is a lot of pop culture stuff that we can go through real quick and a little lightning flash around if you want. With the main thing that happened today, as when are we recording this? So July 2nd, 2025. I think the Diddy verdict came back.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And much to the chagrin of a lot of people, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of. So I guess we should say what the verdict was.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
guess he was acquitted of most of the charges, with exception to two, prostitution charges or
Mhm.
something to do with prostitution. But most of the larger charges he was
The
acquitted of.
racketeering and the sex trafficking, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I didn't think he was going to be found guilty. I didn't really have any expectations of that occurring. I don't really know if people are upset. I haven't really seen a lot of feedback yet from the Twitterverse or from anyone in the news media. How about yourself? You said that some people are upset.
I think it seems like I guess people, well, he just got a slap on the wrist for everything that he was accused of, right? And all the stuff that the evidence was pointing towards, I guess. So it seems like a lot of people, from what I've seen so far in the Twitterverse, whatever you want to call it, is that it was like he got away with it, got away with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I started following the case when it first came out and hearing all the sort of lurid details, and then I sort of stopped listening to it because I knew that he was not going to be found guilty, or I didn't think he was going to, and I didn't want to hear all these horrible things that he did just to be disappointed that he's not being held accountable for it, or I guess what he's accused of, right? Like I mean, he was acquitted, so he's not been found guilty of anything. So what he was accused of, but I don't know. I don't think his career is going to be able to have much of a comeback from this. I think that I don't know what his conviction will lead to as far as time in prison.
Right. I think I saw the prosecutors were going to try to get like the maximum, which is like 4 to 5 years, I think.
So
or 2-5, not 45.
Yeah, he's looking at some jail time, but he'll be out sooner than later, and I don't really think that his career will be able to make much of a comeback. What do you think? Do you think that his fans will still support him after all of this?
Good question. I was a Puff Daddy fan, before all this stuff, so I did like his music.
Yeah,
but I don't think I could support him. I mean, I'm not a voracious fan of his by any means, but I don't think I could support anything that he does.
Yeah.
So I don't think that. I think you're right. I don't know if his fans will come back, and his career will hopefully be over. At least that will be some sort of justice, right? That he can't just go back to doing what he was doing, and so hopefully that will have some sort of justice in it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sort of sad, but it just seems to be like more of, rich people can get away with whatever.
Exactly. I think that's what, yeah.
So, and I think that's what a lot of people's expectations were, is that this rich man is going to be able to get away with whatever he was accused of. So,
yeah. Yeah. And that's what I guess bothers me the most, is that you have money, you can do whatever you want. And that's just not right.
Yeah.
until I get all the money I want, then I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Speaking of all the money in the world, the other thing that happened recently is the Bezos wedding
Yes.
spectacular in Italy. Um, One of the most extravagant, I guess, weddings that has occurred in recent times. Millions of dollars being spent,
Mm.
lots of media attention, a ton of famous people in attendance, which was I was kind of shocked of because I assume that when you're, I don't know what he is, what one of the top three richest men or
Probably, yeah.
two richest men in the world, that you would have a lot of famous friends, but I didn't think that he would have friends that of some of the people that were attending, like Orlando Bloom. Like, how did he become friends with Orlando Bloom?
Are they friends, or is this like, hey, come to my wedding? Then that way you can say, guess who was at my wedding?
That's the thing that's weird. So, like, is it him and his wife? Like, were they just inviting famous people to be like, oh, look, they're going to be at our wedding, and we can say these people were in attendance, or
Mhm.
are they really like acquaintances of theirs? And do they actually know these people? Because it seems weird. Like you're just paying for your you're paying for famous friends.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, right here, like Oprah was there, Bill Gates was there, the Kardashian clan, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, what are they doing it just for the clout, or do they have any sort of deeper connection with those people? I don't know.
Yeah, it's really weird. I know Rosie O'Donnell kind of went on a rant and um, was kind of saying negative things about people in attendance, like Oprah, and how it was a disgusting display of like wealth and things of that nature. I thought it was weird that these random famous people were coming as like the Kardashians. Like, how do you know Kim? Like, I don't know. It just seems really odd. Like, I would feel super uncomfortable if I was famous and I got an invitation to a wedding to someone who I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
I would just feel
Hmm.
like I was being really used and, just for my fame.
Yeah,
But then on the other hand, they're like, this is going to be, an incredible event. I have to be there.
yeah,
So weird.
yeah. It was like what I see, a $50 million price tag on the wedding or something like that.
Just
So
crazy.
So it was like it got a lot of the activists heated up because A, the price tag, right? All that
Yeah.
money could have been spent elsewhere doing good for humanity. And
Right.
B, all the climate change activists were heated up because all those rich people flew in on private jets,
Hmm.
right? So, and all the people who claim to be for the environment, here you are using a private jet to go to a billionaire's wedding. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so you're not putting your money where your mouth is, or whatever the saying may be for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a weird thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess with that amount of money, you can buy the media attention, you can buy the celebrity friends, you can buy anything that you want, really.
Mm, true. Yeah, I guess it's worked out for all those billionaires so far.
Yeah, and which is weird is like, I mean, I'll never know what it feels like, but imagine being a billionaire, right? And you're sort of a nerd, and you don't have these famous friends, and you know that you can just buy them. Wouldn't
Hmm.
that feel incredibly like hollow? Like
Right. Yeah.
it would be like meaningless that you know that you just bought them.
Right. I think of what's that guy from The Simpsons who was like the rich guy, right?
Mr. Burns?
No, 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 no. The other one that was in love with Marge.
Oh, Artie?
Already, yeah, right. He bought all like his friends and everyone, right, to go be with him. He didn't have any friends, but he paid everyone. So that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. Yeah. Very weird.
Yeah. But I'm sure the photographers that were there were getting some great shots. I mean, everyone dressed to the thousands, not just the tens, the thousands, and to be able to be there in that capacity must have been something else.
Yeah, it was definitely a sweet gig for the team of photographers that were probably hired to shoot the wedding. Like you said, not only to have access to that amount of celebrities and rich people, but I'm sure it was a beautiful spectacle as well.
Yeah, and the location I think was just probably very scenic. I mean, just like you said, to have access to all those celebrities, imagine how much further that could amplify yourself and your career as a photographer. Just to
Yeah.
be like, yeah, I shot that. That's mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
It would be pretty cool. That's for sure.
yeah. But we're doing some pretty cool stuff here, which kind of leads right into what I wanted to talk to you about this episode. We amplify a lot of other people all the time. We bring in guests, we talk about their stuff, but we don't really hardly ever amplify our own creativity and our own doings, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So we mentioned that we're both photographers, but we don't really talk about it that much. So I wanted to spend some time and let's rant a little bit or vent or build up or do what we will about our photography. So I know we're both similar styles. We both do a lot of portraits, anything with people, of course, anything that catches our eye really, but
Yeah.
to give our viewers or audience a little bit of a better breakdown of what you would describe your photography style as.
Well, I'm kind of somewhat all over the place because I have different subjects that I shoot. So I famously have more than one Instagram profile for
Famous.
for the subject matter that I have. But for the purposes of this conversation, let's go ahead and go with my like family friendly photos that I posts that are rated PG or whatnot. So that is my I guess the bread and butter of what I do. My headshots, my family portraits, my weddings, my baby shots. Those are the things that I do. I like to think that my work is very colorful. That I do a good job of capturing the personality of the subjects. That I work hard to try to make them feel comfortable and let them shine as
Mhm.
their individuals. I do a lot of coaching when it comes to posing. I don't just stand there and shoot whatever the subject does. I like to be an active participant in what's going on. So I do tend to coach the person in posing, but I like to get to know the subject so that I know what's going to feel natural for them and what's going to look natural and what they're going to be comfortable doing.
Very
Uh,
cool.
yeah, but that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do. With my photography. I certainly I do other stuff that's not PG-13. That uh, I do some travel photography that is more like architecture, landscapes, things of that nature. So I've got some other things that I work on as well. But as far as my main source of photography, that would be the family stuff.
And for those watching, you'll see it right there on the screen what his Instagram handle is, and that's for those not watching, it's Sotomayor Photo. And that's also his website, right? Sotomayorphoto.com. So
Also, my website, also on Patreon. If anyone wants to be a patron of a struggling artist or starving artist or whatnot, I've started a Patreon that
tell us more about that. What is that?
people can subscribe to the Patreon. And what it is it's behind the scenes look at my photo shoots. It's exclusive photo drops that I do, and it's also photography tips and kind of tricks that I've discussed. So it could be anything with like how to take a portrait, how to take portraits in general, how to model, things of that nature. So I'm sort of sharing my experience with anyone that might be interested in photography or is on the other side of the lens who is maybe just wanting to know how they can be more comfortable, what they can do to make to come out with great pictures.
That's cool. That's cool. That's the tips and tricks. That's really neat, especially for maybe someone who's just starting out and they have a passion for it, but they don't really know where to begin, or maybe they're a little timid of how to uh, coach a model, right? So that's yeah. Your style is a little bit different than mine when it comes to coaching models and portrait sessions.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. What is your style? What's your photography like?
Well, I started out like you, everything. And I think over the years, I've really realized that I want my focus mainly to be on music and musicians.
Okay.
That's like my passion is like spending time with musicians, getting to capture their essence, their sound through still photography
Mhm.
is just, it's just, I just like light up when I even talk about it or when I'm doing it. It's just like it means that much to me. I mean, portraits are great. Family portraits are great for those if you like it. Weddings are weddings. If you're a photographer out there and you've done weddings, you know what I mean by that. But it's just music and being able to capture either whether it be the grittiness and depending how I'm feeling with that subject, if it's just the grittiness like an old 70s magazine, old Rolling Stones where you get the the lot of grain in it, or if
Yeah.
it's more sharp and technicolor and saturated. It all depends what the musician or artist bring to the table, and I like to amplify what they're all about. So like you said, getting to know the subject is very important because
Yeah.
then you can give back the light that they're shining to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So how do you do that for someone who may be listening or watching us that maybe be a budding photographer or someone in the creative field that wants to learn how to work with the subject? How do you get to know someone and make them feel comfortable in front of your lens?
I think it's more just not just saying, "Hey, show up, stand there, take a picture." I talk with them either beforehand when planning the shoot and getting to know what their likes are. Then on the day of the shoot, it's mainly just the first few minutes of the shoot are very important to me because then I am just talking with them, trying to make them more comfortable, make them laugh, get them out of their shell. I think that's the hardest part sometimes is people will be, and I've had this with some subjects, they will be very loose, very, free spirited. Then as soon as the camera comes up, they clam up.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you break that wall of that camera or of that moment? It's just, don't even, I just create a rapport with them where it's don't pretend the camera's not here. We're just talking. And I maybe it's not the right way to do it just to talk with them all the time because in some of the images you catch them talking. But I like to have conversations with them. I like to chat with them and because it's a give and take for me. It's what I'm giving them, they're giving back, and we're having a conversation. And hopefully through that conversation, it also translates onto the images.
Yeah. I think that for me, that it's expressing to them that I'm there to make them look good,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
I'm not there to make them look silly or to make them look, bad. Like if my job is to make them look cool, and um, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna do my best in order to make that happen. And I think that one of the things that I do that kind of relaxes them or makes them feel at ease is I'll show them some of the images as I'm shooting. So
Mm-hmm.
that they can kind of see how the shoot is progressing and how the images look,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so that they start to gain more confidence and say, "Oh yeah, that does look really cool. You are getting my best angles or making
Right.
you have a really good perspective." And then from there, they kind of just let loose and are able to be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, showing them a few images as I go through the session just makes them, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, A, and B, that is, I guess it's so them to think that, or not to think, but to them to realize what they didn't think they were able to do, they can do.
Yeah,
Yeah, so some people I always hear, "Oh, I'm not photogenic. I'm not very photogenic. I can't do this. Pictures hate me." But then I take a few shots and show it to them. Oh, okay, and then they like they lose their guardedness and then they open up more, and that's just when the magic happens.
yeah. So what about the opposite? Like, what advice would you have for being the subject matter? If you're getting your picture taken, how to take a good picture? What can you do to ensure that you're doing your best to get a good image?
You mean from like the models portion, or
Yeah, not necessarily a model, because I think some people will shy away from that
yeah,
term because they're like, I'm not a model, but like the
right,
subject matter.
the
Uh,
subject person. Okay, from the
yeah,
subject point of view, I think just be yourself. Be
yeah,
yourself, and if you're concerned about what you look like, practice. Know your angles. Know
mhm,
what side looks better than what you need to do to feel more comfortable in the end result of the image. If you have specific, I don't like how I look this way, well then make sure you avoid that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that having an open line of communication with your photographer is going to be really helpful. So
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
you know, like, it's not a time to be bashful or to be shy. If you know, like, hey, I really like my legs, I want to show off my legs. Let the photographer know. If you're self conscious about your arms, then let them know so that they're not going to focus on your arms. And or and like you said, practice your angles. Like, look in the mirror and see what angles do you look good at, and pretend like you're being photographed. And practice those poses and those angles, and
Hmm.
you'll definitely be able to come up with some things that will make you more confident. I think, like a lot of people, I think naturally kind of know what angle they look good at. Like
Yeah.
when they're taking a selfie, they
Yeah.
know. They just forget when they're in front of a professional camera. They sort of get intimidated and don't want to direct the photographer. Not everyone. Sometimes you have a person who's very confident and will let you know what they want, but sometimes you have people that are shy and don't want to direct the photographer. But I say, by all means, like, let me know what you want, because we want you to look your best and want you to be as confident as you possibly can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think communication is key. I had a bride once that hated the arch in her nose,
Uh-huh.
but I was getting some awesome like side profile shots, but I didn't know that at the time. She tells
Yeah.
me afterwards, "Oh, I hate that part of my nose." It's like, well, if you'd have told me, I would have adjusted you so that it wouldn't get there because they were some awesome, backlighting shots that were just great, but I had to Photoshop them to make them where she was happy with them, which could have been avoided if she had just told me. But
Yeah.
I think for myself and directing the subject or the model or the musician, whoever, I tend to not say as much. I guess.
Mhm.
I mean, when I see something I like, I'll tell them to stop or I'll direct them in slight micro adjustments.
Yeah.
But I really want them to be comfortable with how they're situated, whether it be in the moment or whatnot. And then if I see something, oh, go back to that or go do this, or I'll just move around. And whenever I see the light, that's what really I like to focus on, the light, whatever the light tells me, and
Yeah.
then I'll stop them and I'll work from there.
Yeah.
A little different than yours.
Yeah, I think I tend to be maybe a little bit more vocal, and try to direct as much as I can, because I am seeing what they look like, right? I'm
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
what the
yeah.
scene is,
Hmm.
whereas they don't know. So if they're doing a particular pose and I see, like, okay, your hand looks really awkward,
Yeah. Okay.
as
Yeah, I
opposed
get that.
to,
Yeah, of course.
you know taking the image and then having this awkward looking hand, letting them know in the moment, like, okay, let's stay the pose that you're at, but let's adjust your hand because your hand looks awkward, or
Yeah.
it's giving a weird image. And also, I like to have control over certain aspects of the image so that I know that I'm going to get the end result that I want.
Hmm.
When it comes to really creative people, like, dancers or performers or musicians, like you're saying, sometimes it is good to just kind of stand back and let them do their thing and kind of capture the moment as they're
Yeah.
performing, so it is authentic to their own artistry, and you're like more documenting
Yeah, that's true.
their
That's
artistry.
yeah, that's true. How long has it taken you to get to that point where you feel comfortable directing more of the session? Maybe for people who are just starting out, let them know what it was like at the beginning for you. Were you a little more shy and you grew into it as you gained experience, or were you always just like, no, do it this way?
I think that I started off at pretty good with directing.
Okay.
Uh, I the aspect that I probably struggle with is working with complete strangers. So, like, doing street photography where I'm taking a street
Hmm.
portrait.
Hmm.
Um, that I'm not the greatest at. I'm not the greatest at, like, walking up to a stranger and asking them if I can take their portrait.
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
can be
That's
much
hard.
better at that. I do love street photography, and I love capturing spontaneous moments on the street. So that's something that I continue to work on and try to develop as a photographer, is being able to develop a rapport with a stranger kind of immediately off the bat on the street.
Hmm.
But when it comes to as far as like my photography, when it comes to like a paid session or a session that is a client, a client,
Yeah.
I think that I've always had a good sense of like directing and being able to let them know what I'm looking for, and that kind of has come kind of naturally for me. Part of that is by watching other photographers. Um, I grew up, watching documentaries on photographers like Helmut Newton, Annie Leibovitz, Herb
Hmm.
Ritts, and kind of emulating the way they speak to their models, always being very respectful, directing them in a way that makes the image look great. Um, and so I think that I try to emulate that in a way, and really try to develop that skill as I was coming up.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. It's a tricky thing, I think, for some people to have that confidence.
Yeah,
And what I want people, I guess, to remember, and I was just thinking about this when you're talking about that, is that if you have a client, someone paying you, remember they chose you to come
yeah,
take their picture. So
yeah,
they picked you to go take their picture because they see something in your style, in your the way you do things that they like. So have that confidence. Don't be arrogant about it, but have that confidence to go in there, to feel free to speak to them and tell them, okay, do this because they want you to capture the images in your style.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that for, if we're speaking to a photographer that's starting out, or we're giving advice to someone that is looking to gain experience in that area, I think that respect goes a long way. Like, always be respectful to the
Hmm.
people that are posing for you, because it does take a lot to be in front of a camera and to be confident, and to expose yourself in a way,
Yes.
that it could be, if you're doing documentary photography and you're documenting someone in a really vulnerable moment, it's really brave of that person to be able to expose himself in that way. Or if you're doing fashion and someone is doing a pose that is very awkward but looks great on film, um, that takes bravery in order to do
Yeah.
that as well. So I just always try to be respectful of the person that's in front of your camera. I've seen some documentaries of some photographers that are not the nicest to the models and are very rude and disrespectful, and I don't see why people would want to work with them.
Right. Yeah.
I know that they may get a killer image, but if someone doesn't want to work with you because of your attitude, I don't know. As a potential client, I would shy away from anyone like that. I would want someone, and that goes for everyone. Like, I would want my makeup artist to be kind of cool and respectful of everyone on set, hair,
Hmm.
wardrobe. All of the people that come together to do a photo shoot, they really have to be mindful of how they treat each other, and be respectful, and treat
Yeah.
everyone with respect.
Absolutely. And that, like you said, makeup, hair, wardrobe, yeah, they all work together and they all have to be respectful of one another for the craft and the artistry that they bring to the set. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me, while we wrap up here, tell me one, your favorite, or three things. One, your favorite photo session that you've had, if there is one, if you could pick one,
Okay.
a wild and crazy moment that you had during a photo session, and who you would like to shoot next if you could pick from anyone in the world.
Okay, I have the memory of a goldfish, so like you'll have to remind me of the questions.
Okay.
The first one was, what is my wildest photo shoot?
Your favorite, or you can go wildest or favorite.
My
Yeah,
favorite photo shoot. Um, God, I would have to think what
it's
my
hard.
favorite
Yeah.
photo shoot is. Yeah, it's hard because there's so many like photo shoots that I've had that I love for different reasons. That, like, I've shot friends that are performers, that I've captured them in like a moment of time. Um, I've captured babies and that are now like grown adults. So it's really weird to see them like grow
That's
up.
weird, huh?
Yeah, like I've I guess like one that's kind of cool that is interesting is that I shot a friend of mine when we were going to school at the University of Arizona. I shot her. I photographed her for my photography class that I was taking. Fast forward to 20 plus years later, I photographed her daughter for her high school
Oh wow,
senior
that's cool.
portrait.
Okay.
Then I photographed her second daughter for her high school senior portrait. So I pretty much have shot like like two generations of
Yeah.
family members for my friend, and almost at the exact same age. So it's really cool to kind of see, to have that relationship with this friend that, not only did I take pictures of her, but then she entrusted me to take pictures of her
Mhm.
daughters. So that's really cool. So I would say that maybe that's probably one of my favorite shoots.
That's cool.
What about you?
Oh goodness, favorites. There's a lot. Um, One that was really cool to me was I was doing a fashion shoot for, well, fashion hairstyle shoot for a salon, and got to go to like somewhere in Temecula ranch there and shoot with a bunch of horses and animals and stuff like that. What
Oh
was really
no.
cool is that the I just seen, I think, the movie Across the Universe, right? So some of the actresses in there, and then I go up to the set and I recognize one of them from that movie. And that was one of my favorite movies. So like seeing that person there, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So it's kind of like, a little starstruck. So that was one of my favorite, was getting to work with, I guess, celebrities in a way. It's pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, it's fun to shoot people that have a bit of notoriety or celebrity, just because people love celebrities.
Yeah.
And so when you have someone who's famous in your portfolio, that sort of draws added attention to your work. So yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely is fun. What was the second question?
What is the wildest thing that's ever happened to you on a photo shoot? Or during your session, I guess. Not, maybe not to you, but around you, or that could have interrupted up your session.
Not necessarily during the photo shoot, but after the photo shoot, during the editing process, I was dealing with a model, and I slammed my car door on my finger
Oh no.
and was talking to her while my finger was like trapped in my door, until I finally realized like what I did. And my finger was like swollen and like about to explode. So that was kind of interesting, that I was like trying to keep a straight face and like still have composure and be professional. And then when she left, I like had to go to the hospital and get my finger drained and all of that. So that was probably like the most disruptive
Oh man.
happened during a photo process.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And painful.
Yeah, super painful. It's twice. I've done it twice in my lifetime where I've slammed my car door on my finger. So yeah.
For me, I think I have two moments, and one of them was during a shoot. One of them was after. One was for just a portrait shoot with a model. We were down at the beach, and it's in San Diego. Happened to be the more risque beach, I guess, right?
Uh,
So a big guy walks up, completely, without any clothing on, just stand there talking to us, just watching us, and I'm like, and just kept getting closer and closer and closer, like. It just made us both feel uncomfortable during the session,
yeah.
but it was just weird. And he couldn't take a hint too, because he was like, "Oh, I'm a photographer. I can help you out. I can do all this stuff." It's like, no, we got it. We got it. It was just weird. It was just a weird vibe. But I think the scariest thing that's ever happened to me was I finished up a huge, well, not huge, but it was a huge. I said huge again. It was a for a fashion designer, a very elaborate gowns at the Lafayette Hotel
Mhm.
in San Diego, and all the lighting and everything would look great. But then my cards became corrupt, my memory cards.
Oh no.
So my computer wouldn't read them. There was no way to transfer them. I tried using my camera, and I had to go in and get them like save the file. I got the files, but that was like the scariest moment for me. My heart was like, oh my gosh, what if I lost all of these files
Yeah.
from this elaborate shoot? That was probably the most intense for me, was that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I haven't had any moments where I've lost pictures, knock on wood. Um, yeah, I think that we've all been there where we're like, what would happen if something bad? Like, I think that's like the nerves when you're shooting a wedding is like, what if
Yes.
something bad happens? This only
Hmm.
happens once. You can't
Exactly.
reschedule it. You can't reshoot it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's the nerve-wracking part of a wedding.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is. I triple check everything before the night before a wedding to make sure the batteries are charged. Although I did do once, I was charging my batteries for a wedding, leave to go to the wedding. I think I get probably three-quarters of the way there when I realized I left the batteries in the wall for my
Uh,
camera. So I was like, oh, so I had to circle back and get them. That wasn't fun because can't do anything without the batteries.
yeah.
Oh man! And the last one, real quickly before we run out of time here for this episode, what if you could pick one person to shoot for a portrait session? Anyone in the world, who would you pick? You don't have to explain why, just who.
Yeah. That's really hard. There's so many people that I want to photograph. Yikes. Let's say Naomi Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because I'm thinking of like versatility, like we could do so many things. Like
Yeah.
I could shoot her natural, I could shoot her made up, I could shoot fashion, I could shoot, I mean, literally anything that we,
Anything. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and she would look incredible. So, yeah, I would say maybe Naomi Campbell.
Very cool. Mine is going to be kind of out of left field because it's the first person that popped into my head when I was thinking about this, and that would be Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. Okay.
I don't shoot actors that much as I used to, but I
Yeah.
think he has such a distinct look and versatility like Naomi Campbell that I think we could put off a lot of cool images.
Yeah, he's definitely really cool and interesting. He would be on my list as well if I were to want to shoot like famous actors. He
Mhm.
definitely would be on the list.
Very cool. There you go. So Naomi or Pedro, you hear that? Reach out to us.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they're listening to our podcast, so
Yes.
make
Well,
it happen. Just give us a call.
maybe. So I got this right real quick before we close up. I got an email today, I think it was, from some called millionpodcast.com. I don't know, never heard of it, but we're like on their top 100 of pop culture podcasts.
Huh.
So clicked on their link, and I think we're like number 45. So,
Wow.
hey, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But kudos to us as
Yeah.
we march toward episode 200. Kudos to us for being number 45 on millionpodcast.com. It's hey, at least someone recognizes us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay.
Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, for subscribing, for liking, for following, and we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you.